definitely creating content that helps people is really the solution.
What really works is building a community, consistently doing events like webinars, and producing content specifically for certain categories.
You earn that raise and you earn that job.
Welcome to Future Fuzz, the digital marketing podcast.
Hey everybody, welcome to the next edition of Future Fuzz, the digital marketing podcast with a B2B focus. Today, we're joined by the brilliant Andy Crestodina, the CMO and co-founder of Orbit Media, a award-winning agency specializing in SEO, content strategy, and visitor psychology. With over 2 decades of experience, he has helped more than 1,000 businesses drive visibility and lead generation. Andy is also the author of Content Chemistry. It's a must-read, now in its 7th edition. He's a prolific writer. You must follow him on LinkedIn because he's posting what seems like an article every day, which is in fact 600 articles on digital marketing, AI, and analytics. Andy has also co-founded Chicago Cause, which is a charity donating over $700,000 in digital marketing services to nonprofits. One other thing we should say as well is that Andy is one of the most popular guests we've ever had on Future Fuzz, and he's a boomerang guest because he's coming back, which is always great. So Andy, thank you for waking up early this morning, and thanks for joining the pod.
I'm glad to be here, Justin. Thank you for having me back. It's great.
We spoke almost 2 years ago in our podcast recording, and how much has changed in that time. It's unbelievable.
It has been a busy 2 years. A lot has happened. I could not have predicted the changes or the things that we're able to do now. And I love teaching these things. So this should be fun to go through some of the methods that have that are new and things that have been updated. And a few things will stay the same. So this will be good. Yeah,
great. So the last episode title was B2B Websites That Convert. That was the title of the podcast. So back then, weren't really talking about AI. Was pretty incredible. But today, let's dive into the things that have changed and the things that you've learned and the expertise that you and the team now have. So you've mentioned this to me, which is the most powerful use of AI marketing, the least common used, but most powerful in your opinion, and that's gap analysis. Maybe you want to tell us a bit about that.
Well, we've already framed this beautifully because you mentioned visitor psychology, which mostly hasn't changed at all. Human brains haven't evolved much in the last 2 years. The reason why people do and don't take action on websites has not changed much in the last 2 years. Visitors need to see themselves in the page. They need to have their questions answered. They need to have their objections addressed. And they need to see proof points and data and evidence that the claims on this web page are legitimate. That is consistent and constant. And so 2 years ago, we go through frameworks, and you and I discussed ways to do that by using skills and empathy and hard work and research and close analysis to figure out, does this page answer questions, address objections, and use supportive evidence? That's a pretty skilled job, right? I've done this many years, and it takes me a lot of time and attention to focus on a page and try to see what's missing. And here we are in 2025, a new game. This is the change.
Right.
But so new tools, AI. But my perspective on this is not that AI is some magical tool for writing blog posts in 10 seconds, because that is both boring and ineffective. What you can do with it, and a way that it can support you extremely well in a very important part of your marketing, that key moment when the visitor decides to become a lead or not, and to do what human brains are very bad at doing, which is see what's missing from a thing, is AI-powered gap analysis. So Justin, very briefly, you train the AI on your target audience. You give the AI that persona, you give the AI-powered persona your page, and you simply ask it what it's missing. What is this page missing? To what extent, here's the prompt sort of language, rate the extent to which this page does and does not meet the information needs of this visitor, support its marketing claims, address the visitor's objections, align with the visitor's psychology, hook with their emotional triggers. And it is an amazing time to do marketing at the bottom of the funnel, Justin, because in seconds now you can see it just tells you like, oh, you forgot to mention this. You said this, but you didn't back it up, right? This person has these fears, and you didn't broach that subject. So AI-powered persona-driven gap analysis on key pages on these B2B sites is every bit as important as it was when we talked 2 years ago. Is basically the same actions as they were 2 years ago, but the analysis is done with this amazing new tool.
Right.
That I think is the most effective use of AI that I have discovered yet.
And do you then need to, like, maybe this is a bit of a schoolboy question, but then how do you give the opportunity for the AI to then analyze the page? Is it just like extracting all of the text and uploading it in, or are you giving the AI tooling like literally access to the site? How does that work?
There are 3 ways to give AI a web page. One is to just link to the page. And if you have if you use an AI tool that can crawl the web, it will go look at the page.
Okay.
But it will look at the page in the way that a bot does. It does not render the page with the front end, code.
Right.
So the problem is you may have addressed an objection using supportive evidence by showing, for example, an award or a certification, or there's something badge like a trust seal. It doesn't see that. It might, if there's alt text, it might read that. So the number 2 way, far better for conversion, is to give the AI a full page screenshot.
You give it a screenshot.
A screenshot. Go to use Snagit,
right?
Which is a tool by TechSmith, which I use every day. There's also free ones. There's like Chrome extensions that do this, like Go Full Page or Awesome Screenshot, or it takes a full page screenshot. So now, if your persona is a PDF file, you can drag it into the prompt. Now you've got a screenshot, you drag it into the prompt. And then you start talking to it you start have a conversation with the AI about the persona's perspective on your page. Or you tell the AI to be the persona, and you talk to the persona. There is just a third way to give AI a page, which is to copy and paste the text, which is what most people probably have been doing. That again will give it the copy and help you evaluate the conversion copywriting, but it does not include the visual hierarchy. It does not have the images. It doesn't show visual prominence. It won't, even if a question, an important question for your prospect is answered as text very far down the page in very small text at the bottom of a long bullet list, it will say you checked the box, when in fact, 0% of your visitors are going to see that. So the best prompts are the ones that ask the AI to both evaluate the extent to which this aligns with conversion elements, answer questions, address objections, use supportive evidence, but also do that all in the context of the visual hierarchy. What's high above the fold? What are these? Is there contrast, white space? How are you using pattern interrupters and the science, the von Restorff effect, it's called, right? To draw attention to calls to action. Do you use faces? There's 100 little things that,
Sure.
The visitor's experience is in fact visual. So I think the best way to do it is to give the actual screenshot.
I was going to say, because I was thinking, you could do it on a content basis, but then not everybody is going to read every single line of content that's displayed on a site. It's a huge amount of it is visual. Yeah.
So false positives. The AI reads every word, but your visitor reads maybe 20%. So
right.
Problems.
Yeah, definitely. And there's something else you mentioned that really actually got me excited, that made me really think before our discussion today, and that is how to make sure your website is ready for non-human visitors. We were not talking about that last time, were we? So and then I got to thinking, and I'm like, yeah, absolutely. So a non-human visitor could be that a company is sending an AI visitor to your site to take an action, right? If you're looking for a new supplier, you would be using tooling to go out there and contact organizations to find a new supplier. That can all be automated with AI. Is that basically what you mean?
Yes, there are. This is very new. Probably our listeners have not yet considered this. Most marketers aren't thinking about this. I've only been thinking about this for a few months, but there are, we always thought of Google as a visitor, Googlebot, the crawler.
Right.
And that's those tools and ChatGPT and every search engine, they have crawlers that go, consume all the content on the internet and then, train on it if you're an AI or index it if you're a search engine. But what people are doing now in AI is building agents that go do jobs. This is a new type of AI for most people called Agentic AI. Building AI agents. AI agents use browsers. They use a mouse. They use a keyboard, a virtual browser, a virtual mouse, a virtual keyboard in the cloud. There's a video on this that is OpenAI made a video where they demo Operator. They call their agent Operator. People have to brand things differently. They're really called agents, but the idea is this. Okay, I need a new, I'm building a podcast studio. I need a consultant to help me with the design. Go find me 5 podcast studio design experts in Amsterdam who have experience with lighting and mics. I want people that have certification and some of the related skills. I want people that have worked at companies my size. I want you to try to find information about their pricing and build me a spreadsheet. I'll review that instead of going to Google, and then I'll decide who to contact and do my research. So the agentic AI now is going and crawling all these websites, looking for all this information, deciding whether or not that one deserves or it meets criteria to be on the spreadsheet.
Right.
So probably in the future, your prospect will use a tool, an agent to go take a first pass, the same way that consumers will use agents to, make dinner reservations and, order their groceries. So you've got an AI visitor, and making your website work for this AI visitor is a new important or soon to be important marketing perspective. How do we do that? So that is so there's a bunch of little questions there. Is your site very specific? Does it list all the details? Did you leave any questions unanswered? Hopefully, while conversion copywriting and the gap analysis, we took care of most of that.
Right.
Does all the content load? Does it render? Do they have to click to expand things? And is that information there prior to them clicking? Right? Is it, server-side JavaScript? Not good. The site still has to rank in search engines. The site still has to be usable. The site has to really do a better job, though, than we did for humans about giving them all the data and information. So this probably will all have in the future a page on our site, like the training data page that has all the, the huge bullet list of everything about everything you've ever done for every industry and vertical. So we have to think about our sites as contributing to AI's training data and being usable to virtual keyboards and mice. And then finally figure out a way to track these people, because these non-human visitors, I call them people, they're not people. These AI visitors won't show up in Google Analytics because they don't accept cookies.
Future Fuzz is sponsored by SalesSource, B2B pipeline management and sales growth for your business.
Oh, they won't show up in Google Analytics. You won't be able to see they're coming in. Right. You've just given me an idea, because I often get the request from a brand that they're looking for a supplier that will do something. So why don't you just develop an agent that's specialized in finding certain suppliers for certain kinds of companies? Because they're not legally bound. That's rubbish. Not legally bound, but within their corporate or organizational, I'm looking for the right word here, the way that they have to do things, the processes of procurement would say, if you want to use a new supplier, you've got to find 5 other suppliers. You need to compare them against each other, and then you can choose a final supplier. That's our policy. That's our process. That's how you have to get it done. Now, what they would normally then do is they would then say someone in procurement or someone in a research team is like, okay, this is the requirement. This is who we need. Can you go out and look? That might take days, weeks, even months, depending on what you're looking for, because if it's quite niche, it's going to take more time to find them. But the agent would be able to do that in a matter of minutes, or maybe a bit longer. But then hang on, you've made me think about that as well, because if the agent was doing it all the time, you'd be building up the data, they'd know where to go, and they'd do it even faster every single time. So there's a product there. If anyone's listening, I want shares in that company, by the way.
I think that there are lots of ideas like this. If you, let's say you and I got inspired and we made that for 5 verticals,
Right.
and we had like a real-time, forever updated, searchable directory. We're basically building a directory that anyone can use to evaluate, against all kinds of criteria. I want a women-owned business. I want weekend service. I want whatever. You can just pick all the things.
Right.
But then we'd have to market that product. Remember the early days of Facebook when people said, "Oh, that's clever. I'm going to make Facebook for race car drivers. And I'm going to make Facebook for camp counselors." But then it turned out Facebook was the Facebook for all those things.
Right.
Right. So AI, the utility of AI will train us all to go there first for almost any use case. So new products like this will have a tough time getting traction in marketing during this massive global shift in human behavior. And where people just learn, like, I can just ask my agentic AI made dinner reservations for me last night. I'm pretty sure it can find me 5 candidates for 24-hour plumbers today.
Indeed. Yeah.
And I'm not going to go look for a tool to do that for me. I'm just going to ask the AI.
You're just going to ask the AI to do it for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. This
It's going to be hard to make products. AI is going to make software harder to market because it is sort of the software for everything.
And there are AI startups and AI products that are springing up at an incredible rate. But at the end of the day,
800 per day.
800 per day, right? But then at the end of the day, it's only going to be, the winner takes it all, right? Which is going to be OpenAI.
There's probably 6 or 8 foundational models that on which all AI software is built. Those 800 a day. There are no new foundational models launching.
No,
almost never. I mean,
yeah,
DeepSeek, Mistral. Like there are countries that are supporting these industries and launching things. But it takes something like $10 billion to make it, to train a new foundational model that could compete. No, it's already, the first mover advantage is pretty locked in. OpenAI is extremely good. It is, it's once you're trained, once the AI has trained you, trained all of us to recondition our behaviors to go there first, then even, Google's threatened. I mean, you really can't overstate the shift that's happening as we speak.
Incredible, yeah. And if the rumors are true about how much that DeepSeek actually invested financially in their model, if that's true, then maybe there'll be another disruptor sooner than we know. But I do get the feeling that OpenAI just has that first mover advantage, like you say.
I heard that's not true. That rumor was not true because the cost of the chips wasn't in that number.
Okay.
That they have like $1 billion in hardware that they needed.
They already bought that, right? And they got it transported over there before any
like that.
Yeah, sanctions came in.
I don't really follow the AI news, but I spend hours a day doing AI research on use cases. But I have friends that email me stuff all the time and tell me like what's happening, and there's a lot of drama behind the scenes.
Yeah, fascinating stuff, but it really is very exciting. But we don't use AI agents as such, but we've definitely trained our own models to process a lot of the work that it takes to set up a podcast. So, a guest bio is pre-prepared. Look at the LinkedIn page and we create bios. We try and create them fresh and new each time when we can.
Sure.
Questions for the pod, the description, the chapter, everything as much as humanly possible is, or maybe I should say as much as AI possible, is automated so that we can avoid mistakes when publishing, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it definitely seems to benefit.
There's a possible issue though. These things still should be validated. And as a funny example, in your intro, you mentioned that my company does content strategy, because that's my content strategy is to talk about those topics, and my LinkedIn is filled with that. But in fact, the business I founded, Orbit Media Studios, this is 24 years ago, we do web development and website optimization. So if you train your AI to do an intro for me based on my LinkedIn, it actually sort of misses what my company mainly does. Which is we're a digital agency focused on websites. Yes, that's right. If you go back and listen to the intro, it's actually a bit off because because you trained it on LinkedIn, which is admittedly, part of my marketing.
Yeah.
But my company is a web design and development company.
I'm getting the feeling that we should take that out now, and I need to re-record the intro.
if you'd like. If you edit, I mean, you're a pro, so you know exactly what you're doing.
Or maybe we should leave it in because it leads a lot to be discussed, right?
Actually, it's really, it maybe because it segues into this fun topic, which is how do you get AI to recommend your brand?
Yeah.
So separate from AI agents, if you just ask AI, find me a podcast agency in Amsterdam, it's going to go back to its knowledge sources and training data and come back and recommend someone. How do you get it to recommend you? Probably the way to do that is to make sure that there's many, many instances of your brand being mentioned together with those related keywords and industries and verticals and services everywhere. Therefore, podcasts have a new value because the transcripts are part of the training data. So smart people today are very focused on digital PR, trying to get many mentions of their brand out there together with the related keywords. So there's a new value of podcasts because it's another instance of that brand connected to that topic and service. So we all need to train AI bots on what we do. So digital PR has much more importance than it did 2 years ago.
Yeah.
As much as SEO. And that's, and so saying that little blurb about what you do anytime you're making a YouTube video or you're on a podcast or you're writing a guest post or, you're submitting to a directory, very valuable today for a new reason.
It's really interesting you brought that up now because you want to know how many times a week I get approached for people to come on the podcast. I mean, it's getting bigger. So it started out,
Justin, you have me
very picky. Okay, so let's break this down because this is about being searchable and this is about being discoverable, but also, finding new opportunities out there. So I used to get approached maybe once a week if I was lucky, but now I'm getting approached anywhere between 7 to 12 times a week for people to become a guest, right? Because they see the value in video and maybe AI is commoditizing a lot of written text, for example, right? And we're seeing that, aren't we? And you're absolutely right. People chuck it in as, ChatGPT and they produce stuff, but it's not very good quality, is it? It's not really very engaging. You can kind of see through it, not written from the heart. So then they're thinking, okay, how can we work around this? And it is about video content and I'm getting approached. So yeah, it's a very, very interesting thing what you say. And I do agree with you that introduction or what you say each time is so important to driving traffic, right? And now I just feel a bit guilty that the introduction at the beginning of the podcast wasn't quite right.
No, Justin, don't worry. But I love it. This is a great conversation for that reason. Ask yourself, if it's true that in 2 years, AI chatbots will be popular and even gradually replacing the use of search engines to find potential partners, then how do you get ChatGPT and other LLMs to recommend you as a potential partner? Well, then you need to be in the training data in more places, and therefore let's do digital PR. Another thought, of course, AI makes creating content, the cost of creating content close to zero.
Right.
Therefore, there's going to be much more content. Therefore, how do we differentiate much more? Well, we have to do things that AI can't do, like we're doing now. This is the logical conclusion. Have a face. AI has no face. Collaborate with friends. AI has no friends.
Right.
Do things live. AI can't do that. So those are the formats that will have stronger performance in the future. And if you have content on your website written by a human or by an AI that you look at and you say, well, now an AI could easily do that.
Yeah.
And you should revisit your content strategy.
Fascinating stuff. You really hit again on something that's so crucial. AI can't do live. AI can't do a live webinar. Can't do a live stream.
No.
Yeah.
It can't do original research. It can't make it can't do thought leadership because it has no opinions. You can't follow an AI to see what it's talking about today. These things aren't here. Futurists might say, well, that's coming, whatever. There's the next K-pop star is an AI or whatever. Who knows? Maybe yes. But we still care what our heroes think. we still listen to, the industry leaders who are guiding the way. We still want news to come from curators and editors who have picked those stories because they believe them to be critical for us as consumers. These things won't become less important; they become more important because they're secure and differentiated from what now can be done at no cost in seconds.
And behind every great piece of creative or anything that's inspiring, there is always a human being, no matter how smart AI gets. I mean, like you say, the futurists would agree, would maybe disagree, or they maybe say something a little bit different.
Never say never. So you can't disagree with someone who says, AI has a face. Look at this tool. It's talking to you, Okay. But you didn't reach out to AI to have this conversation. And AI didn't say, yes, I'm excited to talk about my passions, because it doesn't care. AI doesn't care about anything. This is a great quote from Jay Akunzo. He says, AIs and humans both have LLMs as their foundations. AIs have large language models. Humans have little life moments. Tell a story. Share an anecdote. Right? Connect to have a point of view. One of my examples: cream ruins coffee. That's terrible. Why would you do that to your coffee? Coffee's supposed to be dark and smoky and rich.
Right.
I hate cream in my coffee. It's like, why not just eat a candy bar? Like, what are you doing? Cream and sugar? That's not. AI couldn't write any of those sentences.
No, indeed, because that's an opinion that you've developed over a long period of time. And I would agree. Coffee has to be without sugar, dark and smoky, and a dark roast, right? Why would you put cream in a coffee?
And now you and I we connected.
Yeah.
Now that's a trivial example, but that connection that we just had, perfect illustration, does not happen when your audience reads an article generated by AI. It's basically like the AI overview in Google, or the old featured snippet. It's fantastic for answers. But not for emotion, not for passion.
Yeah.
It can never be a thought leader because it doesn't have points. It doesn't have an opinion.
I think that's on that note, we come to the end of the podcast, but it really is important. It's about human connection. And I think there's been some golden nuggets of insight from you again, Andy. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. We are going to leave it in about the fact that the AI got your bio wrong, because it led to a really important part of the discussion.
Yeah. And it made it a story, right? Which is, again, so cheers. Let's drink some coffee, which only humans can do.
Cheers to you, Andy.
I've enjoyed this conversation. Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming on the pod.
Thanks for tuning in and making the choice to listen to this podcast. If you liked what you've heard today, please don't forget to subscribe.